another roadside shrine to someone named Emily. You know, it's strange. I wasn't gonna bother. I'm trying to get home. Several roads are flooded. So what the hell? Maybe I'll talk some more. I'm amazed how many people not only die in car crashes, but I don't remember seeing these shrines in the past. You'd see a little cross, a little flowers. These shrines are, what was I gonna say? So, in the midst of all of my bullshit, I'm trying to get, neat bucks for, well, I think I'm getting my temporary disability, and I got my, what do you call it? Little check from the supermarket, and maybe something from this busted finger lawsuit. I'm contending with my father, and if you know anything about the state of New Jersey, I'll tell you, my father had a stroke in September of 2019, and I'm like, there's no way he's there's no way he'll ever be able to pay for this. And I went into action mode, and they put him in a nursing home, and I spoke to the lady there and said, I'm not going to be able to pay for this. So there was a senior planning service, which you can use to then, is this road closed? I don't know what's going on right now. And there's a senior planning service, and we went through a process, and it took a while. But so he had a stroke in September of 19, and then I think it was March 1st of 2020, he was finally approved. What he was approved for, he was old enough, let's explain. He's old enough for Medicare. All old people 65 plus in the US get Medicare as their primary insurance. And then in addition to Medicare, as a secondary, an HMO or PPO is secondary insurance. Wow, quite a bit of flooding. Interesting. Things are more flooded than I realized. Now I got one asshole up my ass now. Great. So in the US, if you're over 65, you get Medicare as your primary insurance, but Medicare doesn't cover a whole lot of things. So most people get what's known as a supplemental, an HMO or a PPO, I forget what they stand for, but it's a secondary supplemental insurance, which covers stuff that Medicare doesn't, such as, I want to say that road's closed. Let's go this way, that road's closed. Such as dental. I just want this guy off my ass, really. It covers things like dental. It covers things like anything Medicare won't. Anyway, my father was going to have all these bills because of the stroke. When he first had a stroke, he couldn't talk. He was incontinent. It was a total mess. And long story short, from September to March, 6 months, we're in this limbo. September of 19 to March of 20. And then March 1st of 2020, I got the call saying he's been approved for Medicaid, which will cover all of the bills, all of the hospital stay, all of the, he was still in the nursing home, all of the rehab and therapy and all this and that. All the shit Medicare wouldn't cover, he now has Medicaid. And normally, and that happened March 1st, and then like 2 weeks later, COVID blew up. And I remember thinking afterwards, thank Christ. It took 6 months, it took forever. Could you imagine, had COVID hit a month earlier, or this had taken a month longer, it might have gotten really screwed up. So he was approved just before the world fell apart and things got, crazy. I remember thinking, thank God, he got approved March 1st, and by the middle of March, we were in COVID land. So, that worked out at the time. Now, he was in a nursing home, and the facility, it's got two different buildings. One's a straight up nursing home, and the other's an assisted living. They moved him over to the assisted living. He's done much better. He's still a fucking retard. He had the stroke, but now he can walk. He's right-handed. I bashed my right finger. I'm right-handed. He's right-handed. His, it's like the weird parallels. His right arm will never work again. It hangs limp at his side. He can't, do anything with his right arm. Can't use a walker technically because for a walker you need two hands, but he gets around now with a cane on because the stroke affected the right side. Right arm is dead. He was right-handed. Right leg, I put a brace in his sneaker, give him Velcro. He can't tie shoelaces anymore. And I basically kept him in this facility. It's great. The one great thing about the facility is they got this nice, I call it a retard shower. I guess you'd say handicap. Come on, make the turn, asshole. I guess you'd call it a handicap shower. It's like a walk-in closet. He walks in, it's ground level. There's some benches, there's a rail. He only has the one hand. He can use his left hand to grab onto a rail. He can shower himself, because I refuse to bathe him. Anyway, he got a visit from the state nurse last summer. So remember, he's been, in institutions since September of 19. He got a visit from the state nurse in what was it? I think it was like July of 2023. And the state nurse decided, I wasn't there that day. I got a call from the state nurse, not identifying herself. And she went to go visit him, and she decided that, oh, he's good to he doesn't need these long-term services. He can shower by himself. He can take his own medicine. So I called this bitch up, some nigger nurse from the state, and I said, listen, lady, I said, he can shower by himself because he's got a retard-friendly shower. I was more eloquent. Yeah, and I said, he can't get in and out of a regular tub, and he only takes his medicine. He was having a hard time with the staff there. He would throw tantrums, and so I said, fine. When he first had a stroke, there was a prescription written that, saying he cannot take his own meds. I then went ahead and undid that. I eventually undid that. That was in 19, and sometime, I think it was in early 23, I undid that because he was going to be a pain in the ass. I figured, all right, fine. I'll let him take his own meds. I'll go to the pharmacy. I'll get the meds, like a 90-day supply. He takes like 4 different medicines, and I put them into... Come on! Make the turn. BMW from Maryland, taking forever here. I said, I'll play the nurse. I'll get his pills and I'll dump them into little cups, and then he can take, he can put pills in his mouth and swallow. That was what he was doing when he was going to the nurse's station. Christ, I got this fucking Christ. Anyway, so I allowed that in early 23, and she used that in the summer 23. She used that as one of the reasons. Okay, he can shower by himself. Yeah, in a retard shower. It's like saying, I can ride a bicycle with training wheels. I'm ready to drive a car now. It's like you can't compare the retard shower to a real shower. And the pills, like he only puts them in his mouth and swallows. He showed me his whole setup. I set that up, you fucking cunt. But they want to kick him off. So anyway, I tried to, I'll be brief. I don't want to go into too much explanation because it's long-winded and most of you don't care. And a lot of it's for me. Why is there always one vehicle in front of me? And it's always some slow-moving shit vehicle. So it's the right stuff. You can read that. It says the right stuff. We're behind the right stuff. Anyway. So in New Jersey, it's a 2-point thing for him. It was MLTSS, which stands for Managed Long-Term Services and Supports. And then there's what's known as ABD. ABD, I think it stands for Age, Blind, Disabled. It's just the fancy way of saying New Jersey regular Medicaid, regular New Jersey Medicaid. Medicaid is a federal program, but it's handled at the state level. So the federal program Medicaid in the state of New Jersey, they call it ABD. Now, my father would not qualify for ABD naturally because I think it's, even though they have the word age in there, you got to be under 65, and there's a monthly minimum, a monthly maximum earning. You can't make more. I forget what the number is. You can't make more than, is it $1,400 per month, something like that. So with his Social Security, he makes slightly over that, and because he's 65, he wouldn't qualify anyway. So he wouldn't qualify for Medicaid under normal circumstances, but because of his disability, he qualified for what's known as a medical pass. MLTSS, Managed Long-Term Services and Supports, they say yes, anyone who's eligible for MLTSS, regardless of age, can also get regular Medicaid, ABD, regular Medicaid. And there's still an income threshold, but he's nowhere near it now. With ABD alone, he makes too much in Social Security. With MLTSS, the income threshold is much, much higher. It's like, closer to $3,000. So his Social Security is nowhere near that. So yes, despite his age and despite his income from Social Security, which is his only source of income, he qualifies for ABD with MLTSS. So the state nurse wanted to kick him off MLTSS, which means he'd also be kicked off ABD. So I tried to fight it. All these terms that I never really cared about or thought about or knew about, I've learned all about, so I might as well share them. So he wouldn't have ABD normally, which is Medicaid, but he gets ABD with MLTSS. And this nurse from the state, she was with something called OCCO, OCCO, Office of Community Choice Options. Now again, let me explain. This is more for me, but if anyone wants to listen. In this state of New Jersey, which the more I talk about it, the less I want to be here, there's something known as the Department of Human Services, or is it Health Services? DHS, Department of Health Services. Something like that. And this division is this I'm screwing up. It's better to write this all out. Okay. The DHS, New Jersey DHS, Department of Health Services. DHS is this giant, monolithic, Byzantine, huge state department. The DHS. The fuck? The DHS. The DHS is then subdivided into what are known as divisions. So you have the DHS is on top, and it's broken up into different divisions. For instance, there's Division of Disability, which is for those who are truly mentally retarded. There's Division of Aging Services. There's the Division of what I call Der Kommissar, the Division of Medical Assistance and Health Services. So you have the department, one giant department known as the DHS, subdivided into divisions. And then divisions are subsequently subdivided into offices and units. So it's this whole top-down thing. So the DHS, it's all the DHS. The DHS, it's almost like it's a giant thing, but it really doesn't exist. It's just like an umbrella term in a way. The DHS is subdivided into divisions, and a lot of these people who work for these different divisions don't understand this, and they work for the fucking DHS. And a lot of the people, even within divisions, people understand units and offices. But anyway, so the DHS is a giant department, state department, subdivided into divisions, and the particular division was called the Division of Aging Services, and this division was further subdivided into something called OCCO, Office of Community Choice Options, and a nurse from OCCO came out and said he no longer qualifies because he can shower in a retard shower, he can shower anywhere, he can. This whole video is going to be the right stuff here. I'm amazed. It's just my luck. So DHS subdivided into Division of Aging Services, one of the many divisions, subdivided into the Office of Community Choice Options, and this nurse, this OCCO nurse, all they do, apparently all the nurse does, is determine who is and is not eligible for MLTSS, Managed Long-Term Services Supports. It's like alphabet soup. And she decided, OCCO nurse decided he doesn't deserve MLTSS. So I tried to fight it. And now once again, things get funny. Once again, I wanted to fight OCCO. And when you want to fight OCCO or any other medical thing, because I got a letter in the mail stating, OCCO says he no longer qualifies. If you want to appeal this decision, you can, and you got to request continuation of services so long as your trial is pending. So again, it's all the DHS, which is almost like a non-existent, letterhead. OCCO is with the Division of Aging Services, but if you want to appeal, you got to send your appeal to the Division of DMAHS, Division of Medical Assistance and Human Services, a different division within the DHS, and they have a fair hearing unit. So I filled the paperwork, faxed them, and they said, okay, we'll continue his MLTSS coverage until you have a hearing. You have to have a hearing with what's known as the OAL, the Office of Administrative Law, OAL. And the judges for the OAL are known as ALJs, Administrative Law Judges. So the ALJ from the OAL, who knows nothing about any of this shit, is going to make a ruling based upon, me versus OCCO over my father's MLTSS status. And of course, the ALJ from the OAL doesn't know shit about OCCO or MLTSS, and she just rules in favor of the state, rubber stamps it. And then it says, you had this all happened, all right, I'll continue the story. In July, OCCO wanted to kick my father off MLTSS, had a telephonic conference, it was a three-way conference, one of those, party lines with me, the OAL, and OCCO, the three of us, and there were a bunch of people. I really got fucked. On the phone, I was pretty good. I was I was walking around, I was having this nice telephonic conference, but OCCO wanted to have a bunch of people present, a bunch of observing witnesses. So I said, for the record, Your Honor, I would like the names of everyone present stated. And OCCO, there were a bunch of observers with OCCO going on about this and that. My name is this, my name is that. And the judge, the OAL judge, got confused, and she goes, "Oh, this is too much. Why don't we do a Zoom or a Skype conference next week?" And I said, "Oh shit, that's the kiss of death." Because one, I like to be able to walk around and pace and look at my notes. I don't want to have to sit stationary at a goddamn screen. And number two, lookism. Oh, she's gonna take one look at me. I can put on my nicest, suit and tie. It's gonna, I know how badly this is gonna go, and of course it did not go well. And so we lost. And there's something about they told me in the letter, the OAL, which is just this, the OAL has nothing to do with the DHS. OAL is like New Jersey Judicial, Office of Administrative Law agrees with the state, OCCO, that your father doesn't get MLTSS, and you can try to take it to a higher appellate court, but of course, if you lose, you got to pay everything back, and there's no guarantee they'll take it, and that has to only be you only go to higher court if it's for clerical error. So I said, okay. problem was, this is like August by the time we had this virtual internet thing. They didn't say when MLTSS would actually end. So, remember, Medicaid has two parts, MLTSS and ABD. And in theory, he can't have ABD without MLTSS. So, in theory, both should have ended together. But what happens is, because in theory, all right, there's more to the story. So I didn't know when MLTSS was going to end. Now, MLTSS was assessed by OCCO from the state, but ABD is actually handled by the county. In New Jersey, every county has a board of social services, and they take care of the ABD portion. And if you read their fucking website, it says with MLTSS, oh, OCCO and the county will coordinate together. Well, no one coordinated. So now, no, that's right. There's more to the story. Okay, I jumped ahead. With OAL, the Office of Administrative Law said he doesn't get MLTSS. They made what's known as an initial decision. And they said, I'm the judge from New Jersey. This is my initial decision. Within 45 days, the final decision has to be made by Der Kommissar, DMAHS, Division of Medical Assistance and Human Services. Remember, OCCO is with the Division of Aging Services. The separate division, known as the Division of Medical Assistance and Health Services, they're the ones you transmit to. They're the ones I had to appeal to. And in theory, Der Kommissar, the commissioner of this fucking DMAHS, can in theory alter a judge's ruling. Now, they say it's very rare. We looked online. It's very rare. But the letter from the judge, the OAL judge, said he's got 45 days. This is my initial decision. In 45 days, it becomes law. If the Der Kommissar, DMAHS, doesn't, the assistant commissioner doesn't, alter or modify it. And so that was in August, and I think it took till, it was like late September before I heard from the DMAHS saying that, yes, we agree with the judge. So OCCO from the Division of Aging Services says he doesn't get MLTSS. The OAL judge agrees, and now this other division within the DHS, the Division of Der Kommissar, Division of Medical Assistance and Human Services, likewise agrees. So it all comes to a head that he no longer gets MLTSS. This is late September. What I've since learned is that usually, when a person is kicked off any of these medical things, it's usually effective at the end of the month, the last day of the month. But if there's only 10 days left in the month, you get the next month automatically. So by the time this shit came in, it was late September. And so I guess in theory, I didn't notice it. I didn't say it will end. It says we agree. We, Der Kommissar, agree with the judge who agrees with OCCO that your father doesn't get MLTSS. So I said, okay. But I don't know when it's going to end. This was late September. In theory, I guess not, looking back now in hindsight, I know it ended on, whatchamacallit? It ended on October 31st. It was too late in September, so it ended the last day of October. Now, here's the kicker. Here's where everything goes to shit. And I want to go to Lowe's here, so I might take a little break and continue this video later. This might be a four-parter. I wasn't expecting to drive around. One bridge was flooded. I didn't know there's... but if you're following the story so far, continue to part 2 at some point, or part 4, whatever the fuck it is. Because and I'm not going to repeat all this, but I think to myself, if someone sees the second video, but not this one, do I have to re-explain everything? But I'm not going to. I'm just going to babble. Okay, so where were we? Der Kommissar, DMAHS, agrees with OAL, the ALJ from the OAL, who agrees with the OCCO from the Division of Aging Services, that my father doesn't get MLTSS. And we will continue from there. And I didn't know it at the time when it would end. It ended at the end of October, and we'll continue from there, because these videos do get kind of long and drawn out.